My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, are you interested in multifamily investing? Are you kind of wondering, how does this whole cycle work from A to Z, from beginning to end, A to Z for American listeners? That's what we're going to be looking at here today. We've got Harland and Mike. These two gentlemen work together with Atune Investments, and Harland's got 40 years of real estate investing experience. Mike has got a good chunk of time under his belt as well. They bring an interesting combination together to the table for doing deals and raising capital and doing investor relations. Harland, if I'm not mistaken, you've got your background is as a pastor, and Mike, I believe you're an engineer by background. Is that correct?
Yes, aerospace engineer.
Oh, one of those smart, a rocket scientist for crying out loud. A pastor and a rocket scientist. Love it. All right, you guys. So we got two really smart guys on the call and me. And looking forward to our conversation. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Okay.
All right, and you're both zooming in from Florida, so you got the good weather going on here. Why don't you give us a quick overview snapshot? What is it that you guys do with Atune Investments? What does your real estate investing business look like?
So we're multifamily focused investors. Both of us do a variety of things individually, but as a team, we're multifamily. So we just finished up with 128 units up in Tallahassee. And we're looking for units right now and deals right now. And we partner with others that are in the multifamily universe that we've gotten to know. Mike, anything to add to that? Yeah.
That pretty well covers it. We're particular about where we invest, so we search out certain areas that are tax friendly and landlord friendly.
So Mike, partnerships are a lot like a marriage. It can either be an amazing, beautiful, wonderful thing most of the time, or the exact opposite. So you guys have connected, you're working together. How did you guys first connect, and how do you figure out who does what, and how do you stay in each one in your own lane, Mike?
Yeah, that's interesting. We actually connected. One place was at a apartment mastering boot camp, learning how to invest in apartments, what do you look for? And so we spent 4 days on that. And then later we were, in a working group to iron out and practice, what we had learned at the boot camp.
Yeah.
And then once that expired, there were about 5 of us that got together and said, we need to keep taking action. We've got to go out talking to brokers. We have to talk to lenders. We need to go look at apartments. So how are we going to keep ourselves accountable? So we formed a group and did just that. And we stayed in touch. And then a couple of people fell off and we started Atune Investments. And then it ended up kind of down to the last two persevering.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing like that, Mike, but it is so true. I've been a part of a few groups like that. Start off, everybody's keen and ready to go, and then when the smoke clears, there's two guys outstanding. Well, hey, that is a wonderful way to vet potential partners. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that happened over quite a bit of time. And then Harland, you've got a lot of experience in real estate, but it sounds like the multifamily, you weren't in the multifamily space before, or were you? Am I misunderstanding there? What were you doing previously?
Yeah, my first was actually a mobile home park in Tampa, Florida, with my sisters and my father. Back when I had hair and a young pastor, and we bought a mobile home park together, but then went rather dormant for a while. So I have some small multifamily. I actually sold a small one recently, and then some single family, a portfolio of that here.
Very
multifamily
good.
is what Mike and I just really said, that's where we want to go.
That's where you guys connected. That's where you met. That's where you started this accountability group. And then that led into the partnership. Very cool. Now, it sounds like the two of you, when it comes to doing deals, have decided to really kind of specialize on the raising capital side of things and the investor relations side of things. How did you decide to go down that path versus other options?
Well, we looked, didn't we, Mike, at who we might partner with, since we were relatively new in the multifamily space. So we looked at some of the gurus that are out there and looked at maybe joining one of their groups. And then we found another person through a reference that was already in the space, smaller than the big gurus, but really successful in it. And we got in touch with him and formed a partnership with him. We brought some things he didn't have, and he brought some things we didn't have, and formed the three of us into the general partners on the 128 unit
Very
deal.
nice. Yeah. Where was that property, or where is that property, I should say?
Mike?
That's in Tallahassee.
Okay, so it's in Florida as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right. And what have you gentlemen kind of discovered in your path so far when it comes to raising capital? So, Mike, how did you first get started in raising money from other people?
Started learning about that first when I was buying single family houses, and it was from there's a couple of people who taught Bill Cook in North Georgia, and then Pete Fortunato in Florida. And Pete Fortunato is a wonderful deal structuring person, maybe one of the best that I've ever met.
Yeah.
And he talked about putting together deals where people loan him money out of their IRAs, and in particular Roth IRAs, and he likes using retirement accounts to do it. And I got to thinking, this sounds pretty good. When you can borrow from somebody else, they want to make their retirement funds grow. I want to buy a piece of real estate. So by the two getting together, that's where your private money comes from. That is one source. So that's how it got started.
So did you first initially, Mike, did you kind of reach out to your network of people that you knew from your work days that had these kind of funds, or where were you finding your investors initially?
Initially, it was from other people familiar with real estate. But from what I've learned, that's not always the cheapest money, but those are the people who are familiar with the real estate.
They drank the Kool-Aid already. They get it.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, how about yourself, Harland? What about you and your initial foray into raising capital?
Sure. We'll look at that. I just want to make everybody realize that Mike was the president of the Georgia Real Estate Association, state of Georgia, several years there, and he got to know a lot of people, both the trainers and some others that he built a real network there of people that he knows.
Oh, that's awesome.
That makes a big difference to go out there and get to know people. That's really how I did it too. I started going to conferences. I got in a mastermind. I started meeting people that knew about real estate, were interested in investing in real estate. In fact, for our 128 units, a good number of those people were people that I met in the masterminds or at the conferences.
Very, very interesting. Now, my feeling, and I want to get your guys' feedback on this, especially Mike, because you've been involved in RIAs and associations, is it's kind of the 80-20 rule. I found that quite often when I go and attend real estate meetups and clubs and associations, you've got 20% of the attendees that are like you guys are actively doing deals and out bringing down projects and that sort of thing. And then you've got 80% who are really keen. They love the idea, but for whatever reason, they're too busy, they're too scared, they're too insecure, whatever. They haven't pulled the trigger. Do you guys find that to kind of be the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a wonderful source of potential partners.
Yep. It might even be 90-10. I don't know.
Yeah, it very well could be. That's for sure.
And
excellent. So
one of the things we would teach when, an introduction to real estate investing 101 is take a look on the right and left side. In a year, only one of you is going to be sitting here. The other two are already going to be gone. So the 80-20 rule applies.
Yeah.
But one of the things we want people to understand is that there is so much potential in real estate. It's a great investment. And just because you don't want to deal with tenants and toilets doesn't mean you can't make money in real estate. There are also passive opportunities for the people who don't want to be part of the 20% going out there digging and managing the properties.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and in that 20% there is probably the 80-20 there, that there's a 20% that have money but don't really want to give up their being an attorney, being a doctor, being whatever else, being retired.
Yeah.
But they have the ability to find the right people to invest with.
So, gentlemen, with your experience with this 128 unit project that you've taken full cycle, what kind of learnings did you come away with when it comes to investor relations and communicating with your investors?
I think Mike said that earlier, maybe in our pre-conversation here, but just Mike, go ahead and just say what you said earlier. I thought that was good.
The communication, you need to maintain consistent and frequent communication, because if you stop communicating, people wonder what's going on with the property.
Especially over the last few years, I think quite a few syndicators stopped communicating for a while.
And the investors got scared. And when investors get scared, they get nervous. They start talking about wanting to pull their money out. They start looking for alternatives. And you need to be a good communicator. It's just necessary. If the things don't look good, tell them what you're seeing. You may not like what you're seeing, but you need to describe the problems and describing how you're handling it. That's what we had to do during COVID, when we were not allowed to do evictions, or, what were we doing to make sure the money was still coming in, because it was a challenge.
And I think to flip that, Dave, just a bit here, for the limited partner or the passive investor, before they get into a property, make sure that syndicator is somebody who's going to communicate with you and be transparent and be consistent with that.
How do you make sure of that, Harland? But like, because everybody says they're good communicators, and everybody says they're going to do this stuff.
One, you can't. Good point. But two, you can ask a good number of questions of them, and you can ask, can I talk to some of your investors and see where they are? I was just talking with one of our 17 yesterday, Mike, that we had, that she's up in New Hampshire, and she just said, boy, you guys pulled it through. It was scary for a while there, but I just salute you. Y'all did such a great job during a difficult time with the market, and you pulled it through. Way to go. And keeping in touch made the difference for me, being at such a distance from you.
Yeah. No, that's so what do you guys recommend in normal times, like the deal's going okay, for a good pace of communications with your LPs, your passive investors?
What do you think it is, Mike?
What's your cadence?
Somewhere between monthly and quarterly reports. I think part of it, look for feedback. How often do they want to hear?
Yeah, because some people, if those disbursements are coming in and everything's going according to plan, they really don't care that much. They don't want to hear about that much.
That's right. But when the checks come in, the reading is not as important, but if you don't see the money yet, you want to know what's going on with the property. And I think it's important to send notices monthly, let people know what is going on with the property, so they don't sit out there wondering for 3 months. And in particular, during the first year, or when you take over a property, and that's when you have your stabilization, things are changing the most. You're doing renovations, increasing occupancy, raising rents. And you may not be making distributions during that first 6 or 12 months. So if you're not making distributions, people really want to know what's going on. Once the distributions start, if they're consistent, then people are less.
Then they're a little more relaxed. Yeah,
that's right.
That makes sense. So what did you guys do when COVID hit? Because that sounds like that was kind of your trial by fire here. So what did communication look like right before then? And then once that hit and the new rules about not evicting people hit, how did you communicate and how often?
So So we communicated monthly all the way through the 4 years we had the investment. We communicated monthly, quarterly a bit more than the monthly ones. That's when they would get an income and expense statement and some other things. Those that were just wanted that kind of detail. During COVID, we had a conference call along the way. And we just kept them informed. This is what's happening. This is our plan for the next quarter. There are a lot of unknowns out there. We're dealing with it as well as we can right now. Thank you for trusting us with this, that kind of communication.
Yeah. And Mike, what kind of feedback did you get from folks during that time?
We typically heard back from a few investors, generally thanking us for the communication. You know, once in a while, someone would ask for additional information, but for the most part, they were appreciative.
Yeah.
Yep. Dave, a piece that Mike and I were talking about before we got on today, and that is, we think it's good if you're going to be a limited partner to actually go see the property prior to purchasing it. And Mike, you just got in as a passive investor on a property where that was offered to you.
That's right. They offered us to go, visit the property, and on such a day, all the passive investors or limited partners were going to be able to go tour the property and see what the plans were for the renovation. And I liken this to, most people watching this have bought a house, but probably not before looking at pictures online at some point. You see a MLS listing, you look at the pictures, then you go see the property. And how many times does the property not look like the pictures?
Yeah,
if that can happen with a house, what do you think can happen with an apartment complex, and even the location of that complex, what's it surrounded by? And until you drive the area, you don't have a feel for that.
Yeah, very, very well said. So, gentlemen, as we're wrapping up our conversation here, where are you seeing your company and you guys going over the next year and a half? What are your goals?
Mike?
I think we want to purchase another 4 properties in the next year, partner either between us and Atune or partnering with other syndicates.
Very cool. Very cool. And Harland, if people want to connect with you gentlemen and find out more about what you're up to, where should they go?
AtuneInvestments.com, ATTUNE investments, one word, .com. And on that, there's a place in there that they can just, just right at the top there, get a little ebook that we have, and that'll put them on a mailing list. Every Tuesday morning, Mike or I write something to help people out with their investments.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing some insights on the do's and don'ts of communicating with your investors. Congratulations on the successful full cycle of that property. Congratulations on dealing with the challenging times and having happy investors come out on the other side. That's proof in the pudding right there. And thank you very much for being on the show.
Right. And thank you. And best to all the people out there listening today.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.